just what's your take on the outlook for both GDP growth and inflation in the coming year?
I think it should be a good year, Bob. I think growth will slow. We can't maintain 5.7% for very long, but it'll be strong enough that the economy should be back to something we consider close to full employment by the end of the year. You know, an unemployment rate that's kind of in the low to mid threes, somewhat higher labor force participation. And I also expect inflation to moderate. It's not going to go back to the Fed's target by the end of the year. It might take longer than that, just given the pandemic is creating havoc in supply chains and in labor markets. But it certainly be moving in the right direction. And I do think by kind of mid 2023, we'll be back close to the Fed's target. So I have a pretty sanguine view. But it's based on a boatload of assumptions. Most importantly, being that the pandemic will recede. And what I mean by that is that each new wave of the virus, and I suspect we'll have additional waves after Omicron, but each new wave is less disruptive to the healthcare system and economy than the previous wave. That's kind of sort of what's been going on since the pandemic hit 2 years ago. And if that continues, I think we should land in a pretty good place by the end of the year. Last thing I'll say on it, obviously there's a lot of risk around that sanguine baseline view. That's kind of like in the middle of the distribution of possible outcomes, but there's a wide distribution skewed to the downside. So I think it would be prudent to focus on kind of downside risks. But, I think if I were at the CBO doing the economic forecasting for the budget, I think it would be I'd land on a pretty sanguine outlook for the economy over the coming year.
And just to get back to one of the international issues is the whole supply chain question. Do you see that resolving over the coming year?
Getting much better. Again, that goes back to the pandemic, and particularly the Delta wave of the pandemic, which nailed us, but it really creamed Asia, Southeast Asia, where a lot of supply chains begin. And I think if you go back to the summer fall of last year in Asia, they were very lightly vaccinated. Outside of China, Southeast Asia, there was just no vaccines. That's changed dramatically, and I think policies have changed. I don't think Asian countries outside of China are going to shut down like they did in the Delta wave. So I suspect supply chains will start to iron themselves out, and also at these higher prices, businesses are making a lot of money. Profits are very high. And that's a very strong incentive to invest and expand capacity, and that's what we're seeing. Investment's very, very strong. That'll take a little bit of time to get online and to address to have some impact on the shortages. But by this time next year, I expect a lot more capacity coming online, and that'll bring prices down. So yeah, I think we'll see slow at first, but then much quicker improvement in supply chains as we move through the year.